Hey everybody, it's Torrance of Sword Guy Builds. So the Belmont Whip from the Netflix adaptation of Castlevania. I think a lot of us were excited when we first saw it, but ultimately it looks a little disappointing, I think. I always describe it as looking like a 10-year-old found a fully formed whip and then clumsily wrapped more leather around it. So of course I tried to do it right. The first time with nylon, it was a 10-foot solid black thong with some dark brown lattice work over the first few feet. But now that I'm also working with leather, I figured it was time to redo it in the way it was always intended to be, you know? So this is that build. The concept for this whip is a rugged but ornate American-style bullwhip. I really want to make it a gladius, but I don't believe I'll be able to fit the collar over the handle if it's built on the 3/8 nail, since there's going to be the additional girth from the accent braiding. So I'll use my usual 1/4-inch handle core, but the prep work will still be done in the gladius style. The whip will be brandy, with whiskey for the embellishments. I begin by picking my 2 hides and stranding out my bellies from the whiskey. I also take a long, wide strip from the whiskey. This will become my open lattice. My next step is to carefully cut it down the middle to make 2 strips. Then cut each one again to make 4 strands. Each one is then tapered and beveled, and the 2 tails are finally tapered and split down to be locked down and hidden in the overlay braiding. Unfortunately though, I'm out of braiding soap, so I have to make some before I continue. I'll be using the David Morgan recipe, which calls for basic ivory body soap and lard. I take about 1½ cups of water and bring it to a boil while grating a whole 3½ ounce bar of the soap into it. This is one of many things that complicate the flow of work that most people don't realize. It's also why it's so difficult to explain why whips are so expensive. Be nice to your whip maker. When it's boiling and all melted, I introduce a pound of lard and stir until it's fully integrated. All that's left is to let it cool and solidify, and while it does, I come back periodically to whisk it and keep it from separating. While my new braiding soap is cooling, I start stranding my 12-plait brandy overlay. Since it's a 10-foot, the longest of these strands are 15 feet. So prep is a little bit challenging. Finally, I'm able to start braiding. The first belly goes to 2½ feet, and the second goes to 5 feet. Because I can't be sure my brass collar will be able to slide down over the swell at the transition, I leave the heel foundation off of the completed belly so I can put it on that way. I also had a slight mistake in my bolster cutting, so I had to fill in a gap with an extra strip of leather. I then braid the overlay in the conventional style of diamonds to herringbone. The untangling on 15-foot strands is a considerable struggle. At the 4-foot mark, I introduce my accent strands. The one tail is placed at the top, and then after half a full braiding sequence, the other one is placed at the bottom. This way they'll be 180 degrees from each other on the surface. Once the overlay is finished, I give the first 4 feet a preliminary rolling and then put the whip in the vise to braid the lattice backward toward the handle. The whip is then rolled and I prepare my knot strands. The collar is applied and bookended with knots, and the heel cap is fitted with a brandy wrap to lock it against the handle. The finished whip has an understated elegance while maintaining its rugged adventurer's aesthetic. I'm really happy with it. The transition zone is super strong, so over time this whip should break in to be almost exactly how we would expect the legendary heirloom to be. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please visit the shop, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.